All right, welcome to Frightmare HQ. My name is Lloyd Cryer, and I am here with Charles Doze.
Hey, Lloyd, what's happening?
What are you up to?
Just hanging out, thinking about you, thinking about Frightmare, thinking about Wretched.
I am thinking about the Wretched, too. We've got a lot of great guests coming up here in a minute. Let's go ahead and show everybody this artwork for it. It's super cool.
Oh, I love this. I love this wallpaper for it.
We need that. We need a skull like that. We need one of those deer skulls.
I feel like we need a deer skull while we're doing our show that I can just put on at random times and just be like, hey,
that would be fantastic.
Lloyd Cryer. Obey me, Lloyd.
Looks like we've got quite a few people that have already joined in with us here.
Sweet. Who's on?
Let's see. We've got Mickey Reed. How's it going, Mickey? We got Tess Powell. Hi, Tess. Chrissy Gillian. There's a bunch of folks watching right now. So
a bunch of mine are just saying Facebook user. That's different.
Facebook user.
Yeah, that's what it's saying.
What? I'm seeing that too. That's pretty kind of weird there.
Hey, somebody wished me an early birthday. Facebook user. Well, thank you, Facebook user.
Oh, you know what that is, Charles?
That's from the group page.
That's from the group page. It keeps that. If you're watching on the group page, it keeps you private because it's a private group.
Oh, no. I like knowing who's watching this. How am I going to talk to these people?
Exactly. Move over to the main page.
Move. Come on, guys. We want to know who you are.
We already have all of our guests waiting in the background. So let's bring them all in. I'll bring them in one at a time. First up, we've got director and writer Brett Pierce.
It is Brett. What's up, Brett?
Good. How are you guys?
We've got Drew Pierce, director-writer. Is that correct? Am I saying that correct?
Yeah. What's up, guys?
You guys have done so much else on this movie.
Yeah, craft service. I mean,
everything. Trash.
Yeah, whatever you want to. Trash all.
Yep. We've got Piper Curda. Hi, Piper.
Hi, Piper.
Good to see you.
Glad to be here.
Thank you for joining us. And then we've got Erik Porn.
Hey,
how
Erik.
you doing?
Yes, it's a real last name.
What's that?
I said, yes, that is a real last name.
Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yes, it's just as bad as it sounds.
How was that?
That's an amazing last name
for you, Erik.
Yeah, how was high school for you?
Drew, we've talked about this. You know it was hell.
I think they were all jealous of your last name. That's what I think.
That's like Drew's. That's like Drew's joke with every festival and interview. Is he loves to like go through talking about the movie, and then he goes like, and then Erik Porn. That's his real name, He laughs, so it's like Drew's warm-up joke.
It's that weird thing you end up having to.
Well, if it wasn't your real name, it's like one of those names that's really cool, and you went like, "I'm a rebel. I'm going to change my last name to Porn."
Porn.
I don't advise it.
It should be like two N's with an apostrophe. That's how it should be spelled.
It could have been worse. You could have been like a lawyer or a banker or something. Like I don't know if it would have. I don't know if your makeup affect career. Yeah.
He could have one of those 1-800 commercials. Call 1-800 Porn to finalize your settlement today.
Probably helps your makeup affect career.
It's 900 number.
900 Porn, only $3 a minute. It's like, all right.
Okay, well, we won't dwell on that too long to make it
out a little bit.
We just talk about that the entire time.
Yeah.
So each of you guys tell us what you think about Erik's name. We'll go along the list here. So.
I do have a fun movie they directed called The Wretched. Maybe we can talk about that too.
Oh, that one. Good.
So, The Wretched, man, you guys are tearing it up right now. It's how awesome is it though that you're number one at the box office? I mean, I think it's super cool.
Yeah,
it's wild.
It's weird. We don't know what to think about it because we're just kind of like in shock. It's just like every day we're like, people tell you that, and you're kind of like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. It's like that, but it's cool. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
it's crazy.
Making an indie movie, you just you live to like show it on a big screen, and you just hope we were going to play on a couple of in a couple of theaters, but this has just totally changed it for us.
So how many drive-ins is it actually playing in right now?
45 as of yesterday on Friday.
Nice.
So,
wow.
Yeah, Yeah, we started in like 10 or 11, I think. And they just were feeling good about it. So they kept pushing it bigger, which is cool. IFC's been really great about it. So.
Well, it's the perfect drive-in movie. I mean, it's really a throwback to what all of us love. You know, it's a fun, practical effects movie, and I know me and Lloyd really enjoyed it. So I'm happy to see it getting all the attention it definitely deserves.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, we wanted to make a creature feature just because we missed them so much. It feels like, and I like these movies, but it feels like we've just been getting ghost stories for 10 years. I wanted to see a monster, you know. So.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Where did the idea come from, though? I mean, is this a story that, you know, is based on anything, or is it from your minds?
Yeah, Brett and I, we always wanted to make a witch movie, and we basically had this idea in our heads that like nobody had sort of made like a creature witch movie with rules, and we got excited about the idea of like, you know, they've obviously like elaborated on the rules for like zombies and werewolves and, you know, vampires for like decades. But yeah, so we started digging into sort of like old mythologies. We found a couple really cool witch myths that we just had never seen on screen. We found this cool myth called about Black Aneth or Black Annie. It's like this English folklore about this blue-faced hag that lives underneath a tree. And then this Appalachian myth about like it's called the Boo Hag, about this like skin stealing witch. And we kind of just took those and mashed them together and came up with some of our own rules. And yeah, we got really excited. We felt like we had sort of our own unique creature.
Absolutely. Totally original. And like you said, it's off the beaten path of what's been going on lately. And it's fresh and original. It's something I recommend that everybody go check it out. Go to a drive-in. I think it's on VOD too right now, right?
Yeah, it's you know, like iTunes and Amazon and all that stuff too. But yeah, it's a good drive-in movie though. We didn't realize it until we got put in drive-ins. We were kind of like, oh yeah, it's a creature feature at a drive-in. That makes a lot more sense. It's like we realized we were kind of always making a drive-in movie and didn't know it. So.
So your guys' dad worked special effects, right, for like Evil Dead. So was it like the ideal is always going to be practical effects? Like, was there no ifs, ands, or buts about it? It was going to be practical effects.
Yeah. I mean, we just we get really excited. We love practical effects. We're obsessed. We've been obsessed with Sam Raimi and just his whole career journey since the beginning, just because we've heard that whole legend our entire lives. And how they pulled off Evil Dead and then Evil Dead 2 and I mean, it's just insane what those guys were trying to do. Yeah. So we've always been excited about the idea of doing like a big practical effects thing. And then we found Erik.
And cue Erik. Exactly. Cue Erik. Man. I mean, you can argue that your effects are partly the star of the film. No disrespect to Piper. But those effects are
yeah, you're right.
What I can imagine this had to be a monumental feat to pull off the effects in this movie.
It was tricky. I'm not gonna lie on the time frame and the budget. Yeah, it definitely was tricky.
Yeah.
You only had a short amount of time, right, Erik? It was couple months, right?
Well, about 2 months, which isn't bad, but we had basically, you know, 3 of us to start working on it. So it was 3 of us kind of doing everything at the start. And then towards the end, we bumped it up to like, you know, 5 or 6 people in the shop doing stuff. A couple people even working from home on things. You know, we have a relatively medium-sized shop. It's not one of the huge shops. It's more of a boutique shop. So yeah, it was tricky.
Yeah, we put him in an even more boutique shop when he got to Michigan. He was pretty much working out of a garage.
Reminded me of growing up.
Yeah.
So that's where it filmed, out of Michigan? Is that where you guys were filming?
Yes.
Yeah. We were in northern Michigan, which is the Traverse City area, which is this really beautiful town that Drew and I used to go. We lived in Detroit, so in the summers we'd go camping up in that area, and we just always loved it up there. And Drew's in-laws live up there. So we just wrote the story kind of around where we used to go camping in the woods.
Yeah.
Nice.
My wife grew up in Detroit and lived there. I don't know. She's been here probably 20 years, I think, but she's a Detroitite.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's a perfect place to shoot a horror movie. I mean,
Yeah.
It's a really pretty
Beautiful
place.
location you guys had. So
Yeah, I think the cast was pretty happy with where we were most of the time, like hanging out. It wasn't the worst place to be. We were like in this like town with lakes and kayaks and all this. Drew and I never saw it, but we got really nice pictures from Piper and the others of like, adventures.
It wasn't quite warm enough yet, but it was getting there. It was just starting to break into being warm.
Mm-hmm.
What time of year did you shoot there?
May.
It was 2 years ago now. So,
oh wow.
Yeah.
Almost exactly, actually.
Yeah. It was like, I think we started shooting like May 5th or something like that, 2018.
It was a summer movie, but obviously, like we were shooting at a marina that was going to be open, so we wanted to shoot like the off season.
Mm-hmm.
But that meant when we started pre-production, it was actually like freezing cold. We were actually like snowed into a cabin, working on our storyboards, and we're just praying that all the snow would melt by the time we started shooting. The tricky part is when we did start shooting, Piper was actually a little luckier. She had pants in most of the scenes, but we have this like summer movie where people are supposed to be like, having fun.
Oh, poor JP in that pool scene.
Stay in the pool.
Just
there's a lot of really cold
dark
people.
naked.
Pretending to be warm.
Piper, your character is kind of, I don't know if you would say you're the glue that holds everything together, but you're the constant throughout the film. And,
I'll take it.
what was your experience on the movie? Did you enjoy the shoot, or was it a difficult shoot, or?
No, I really enjoyed it. I actually, the day that I flew into Michigan was also the last day of finals for me that year, because I was in school at the time. So it was just a really exciting thing for me to be able to like go straight from finishing your of school, which I've always, thought I was going to do, and then go right into shooting a really cool film. Also in the Midwest, because I was going to school near Chicago, and that's kind of where I'm from. And so getting to like kind of stick around the Midwest for a while was awesome. But yeah, no, it was super fun. I don't know. Drew and Brett, like, I know they're here, so it sounds like I'm just like blowing smoke up their asses, but like they're awesome, and they created such a cool atmosphere on set. I mean, there's such like chill but hardworking people, and that created that exact environment on set. Like everyone was like, "We're cool, we're gonna have a good time, but also like we're gonna put our heart and souls into this, and it's gonna be sick." But yeah, it was really fun. JP is a great dude, and so like we got to hang out all the time. Jameson, who plays JP's dad, him and JP rented this like weird little beach house right on the shore, and like had people over for dinner, and that was super fun. I don't know, it was a really cool, weird pseudo summer camp type experience. And then there were also nights at 3 a.m. of us filming in the woods in Michigan, which I don't know if I would say that was fun, but it was an interesting experience.
For the thunderstorm.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? Remember what, Eric?
The thunderstorm getting shut down for about 4 hours or something.
Oh wow!
Yeah, in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, in the middle of the woods.
Very ominous.
Yeah. Well, we had this like one house that was like half a mile from the woods where we shot that we kind of got convinced somebody to let us borrow it. So like the lightning was coming, so we had to pack like the whole crew and all the cast into this like crammed little house that it just made no sense. It was kind of funny. And we're all just like sitting there waiting for like, is the lightning going to pass? Can we go back and shoot at 4 a.m?
Yeah, it was like 30 crew members packed into the smallest house, like just sleeping in cubbies. Like there were people sleeping where the refrigerator was missing, like just curled up in the fetal position. Yeah, it was a nightmare.
I liked it.
It was fun. It was a fun experience.
Yeah.
Do you think that was one of the bigger challenges of shooting this film, or were there any other challenges that you can think of?
There were a
JP's
ton.
ego?
Oh yeah, JP's ego. Yeah, he just I won't do these scenes unless I'm the center of the shot. No, this made him sound like Donald Trump. I don't know why. It's so funny.
You got to do one of these.
Yeah, I was like doing the Alec Baldwin Donald Trump for JP. Yeah, I mean, it was most of the challenges were just like really long hours, really cold. And Drew and I, like in a weird way, you always dream big when you go to make it. So we had things in the script, like lots of special effects by Erik that are very complicated and tricky to pull off. And then we'd write like a dog and a raccoon, and then kids, which all these things like kids are great and they're awesome, like, but they all have to be done by a certain time because of labor laws and stuff. So
yeah,
we kind of like kept dreaming big on this movie and kind of complicating our problems more and more. But I'm glad we did it because I'm happy with the result. But it was, in hindsight, like any independent film producer would be like, guys, if you're going to have, monsters, special effects, kids, animals, we're cutting one or two of those so we can get the movie done. So,
yeah.
Piper, you sort of avoided a lot of this makeup chair work. Did that bum you out, or were you happy to not have to sit and have all these makeups done on you?
Maybe a little bummed just because I've never done anything like that, so it's cool. And that's like just one of the things I like doing is anything that I haven't done, which was this movie in general. I'd never done a horror movie before, so that was exciting. But no, I'm like slightly allergic to latex, which a lot of prosthetics now don't have latex in them, but I probably would have been nervous about having some kind of reaction to that. So I'm glad. And then I'm having to watch Madeline, who played the Wretch like in monster form, like sit at dinner and eat with all of that on her was
So
very entertaining, but probably not as fun for her. So I was, counting my blessings a little bit, but yeah, it could have been fun. Could have been some fun pictures, but it's all good.
Erik, one scene sorry, go ahead.
Oh, there's a lot of fun pictures of Madeline where she's, we can't share them yet because we didn't want to spoil the Wretch, but it's like, her for lunch, her hanging out with friends, like her relaxing.
Mostly texting on her phone with the giant claws. It was
It's like the Wretch on break, It's really funny.
This was a great scene. Boogeyman 1313 is asking about how fun was the gutted deer scene to shoot. Watching the witch come out of that carcass was cool.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that as well.
That was a great scene.
Yeah, it was very cool. It was probably 40 degrees cool. Poor Madeline was wearing pretty much nothing except body paint and a couple prosthetics, and it was freezing that night. It was fun though. It was a lot of fun to shoot.
It started
Eric always had a big smile on his face
while we were shooting it, so it was double fun.
It was Annie, and Annie was up in back of the truck holding the actual deer gut, because we had built just an insert gut that she could crawl through, and it was literally just a piece of foam with the fur on it, and Annie was holding it, and I was trying to dump things through it at the same time, and we couldn't feel our hands.
Yeah, it was a weird shoot too. Well, it wasn't weird. It was nice actually. That was like one of our first big effects scenes I think we did in the schedule with you, Erik. Yeah. So that was like the first time everybody, cast and crew, whenever you're doing something gross, everybody shows up. So it was really kind of cool because it was kind of like everybody came out no matter how cold or rainy it was, because we just wanted to watch, this deer gut spill all over the ground, like Madeline crawling out of the back of this thing. So it's like one of those fun times. Like everybody starts acting like they're 2 years old. They're like, "Oh, are the guts gonna come out?"
And since we're all from Michigan, my brother came out, and nobody knew how to gut a deer, but my brother had gutted deer, so he was showing everyone how to gut the deer.
It's so embarrassing. All these guys from Michigan, we had no idea what we were doing.
So was the deer a real deer?
Yeah.
What was that?
You did gut a real deer then?
Well, it was a taxidermy deer that we had bought that was probably 30, 40 years old. And because there just wasn't time to actually build one from the ground up, and it's incredibly expensive, you have to sculpt it, you have to do the hair work. There's a whole lot of things to it. So I had a family member who used to have a big, huge trophy room, and he was getting rid of a lot of stuff. So he sold us a deer that had been sitting around maybe for 30-something years. And we had to kind of retrofit it and cut it and joint it and do a lot of crazy stuff to it.
Well, I only ask because everybody knows that story, I'm sure, of shooting Day of the Dead, and Tom Savini buys like a 55-gallon barrel of innards.
Yeah.
I mean, did you have to use real innards for that scene, or was that?
No, Well, the funny thing was, if I remember right, we used sausage casings for the intestines and filled them with pudding. Stuff that you could actually get. But we bought them that day so that they were fresh, and because I remember the Tom Savini story about going bad. And a friend of mine showed me that trick, and it worked really well. So we used that, but it was mostly there was a couple of those with some silicone bits and some latex bits and a few other things.
Well, whoever did the sound effects on that scene, thumbs up to them, because when it hits the ground, that splat noise was fantastic. It just, to me, that set up the whole movie and kind of lets you in on what you're in for with this movie. It brings out that mystery. Oh my gosh, what is going on? What is coming out of that deer?
That was one of the scenes that was in really early drafts of the scripts that we were super excited about. That, like, I think there was one time Drew was like, I think we need to cut that scene for some reason. And I was like, no. It's got to be in the movie. I love this idea. So
it hooks you in. It hooks you in.
Yeah.
It's good it was taxidermy. I was afraid you sent Piper out with a gun and told her to find a deer. So that's good.
I would have done it.
Anything for your own.
The worst thing we had to do is cut through a bunch of polyfoam. That was what the inside of the deer was made out of. And being 30 years old, it was starting to disintegrate. So,
yeah.
So
what?
Go ahead.
Going from the effects, Eric. What was? I don't want to give scenes away, but like, what was one of the more difficult scenes to film as it comes to the visual effects? Was there any that were just outstandingly difficult as opposed to others?
That's a good. I would say. Well, how much can I give away? I mean, it's the scene towards the end.
You can talk about it.
Characters, you can kind of
the wretch comes out of someone's stomach, and that was it's a classic effect that they've been doing since before the 80s, I'm sure. It was just trying to shoot it in the amount of time that we had to shoot it made it tricky.
Yeah, so we had actually built like a fake like subfloor, like a couple feet off the ground. So we have one of our characters doing like a full back bend just so her head is there, and then a whole prosthetic body, and our creature who's in full makeup, who's going to come through essentially through the chest and just climb through. But it's just such a weird setup. So in sort of putting it together, Eric wasn't down there. Annie's like super small, so she's crouched down there with our creature. And I actually just made like.
I was down there too. I was underneath.
You were?
I was underneath. Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of room under. How did 4 people fit under?
I guess Eric so they're passing things through basically our other actresses like stomach. Like here's scissors, cut this open a little wider. Here's some blood, douse that up a little bit more, and it was super surreal.
Yeah.
There wasn't much room at all. I remember being like stuck in there, and my limbs were falling asleep, and Ozzy was basically sitting on me, and
It was also after a full night of shooting inside the barn all through the night. So
like 17 hours.
Like 17 hours, and then we shot just that part in the driveway outside the barn with this fake floor tarped over to keep the sun out, and tried to light it to look like the inside of the barn. So it was like we were like kind of like stupid brain at that point because we'd been up forever. So it's kind of like, is it working? Yeah, looks cool.
That was probably my biggest day on the whole shoot because we had to do all the fight inside the barn with her like coming out of the arm and the fight sequence with the head and all that stuff. We had the fake head of her, and then the hand that came up through, which was also a fake head. Yeah. So there was a lot of stuff working that night for us.
Yeah.
It's such a great scene. I mean, when it was coming out of her, I was like, I like Eric. This is great. Thank you, Eric, for doing this and not getting on the computer. Thank you for getting down on all the blood and getting gross for us. We appreciate it.
Well, there was also a good team involved with us. We also the head of makeup, Bianca Peace, is also an effects artist too. So we lucked out having the head of makeup also really an amazing prosthetics artist, and then Melissa Jimenez, her key was also an effects artist. So the nice thing is, anytime myself or Annie got taxed, we could just kind of call on the regular makeup team, and they were, amazing at pulling the stuff off too. So we couldn't have done it without their help.
And you worked on a lot of horror before this, Eric. Was there anything from your previous work that you kind of brought into this sort of ideal around it that Brett and Drew kind of took from as well?
There was a lot of things. I had gone and done, a couple days here and there on in Texas on Fear the Walking Dead, just as an additional makeup artist. But my friend John Wrightson works on that show, and I loved how he painted the walkers. And I used a little bit of his paint ideas to come up with a paint scheme for the Wretched, because I just thought it would be really good for how she looks. I just thought his paint scheme worked really good for that. So thank you, John.
I love that the effects community is open to sharing with each other. Sometimes you don't see that, but it seems like in the effects community, everybody is open and willing to sharing ideas and, not being super secretive with how they do everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it was super collaborative with Erik. Brett and we'd storyboard through the sequences and be kind of like, this is our ideal version of the scene. And then we'd talk to Erik and we'd be like, do you have any other ideas to like sort of take this further, or like different ways, like what,
or will this won't work for some reason,
sort of accomplish this, or and then he'd kind of bounce it back to us and we'd talk through it. We'd revise boards, and it was sort of this like cool back and forth collaboration.
It's nice. Erik always seemed like the most excited guy. About everything. It was like a gory thing. He's like, ooh. And then we wouldn't see him for a little bit because we'd be shooting a scene with no effects. And then Erik would come in with blood with like a smile on his face. I'm like, oh, we're going to do fun stuff.
Yeah, I know. Part of it, I think whenever we're shooting effects scenes, we get so excited just because he'd be so excited. Like there's one thing that hit the cutting room floor. We initially, there's pieces of it still in the movie, but one of the kids has a like pet bunny, and it basically goes missing. And we had a scene that like, it just didn't fit in the context of it, but basically where like the Wretch essentially rips like a bunny into shreds, like rips it apart. And Erik had built these sort of like rip apart bunnies, like essentially loaded with blood.
There wasn't a lot of budget, so we Amazon like realistic bunny toys, because we just wanted to see like the ripping part. We didn't want to see the whole thing. So I figured, well, if we just show the cut and we show the gore coming apart, that might work. But then the rabbits that they got for the scene were like,
dude, they were like 100 pounds. They were the biggest rabbits I've ever seen.
So large.
We kind of realized after the writing like in the shooting, that we're like, oh, we're probably going to cut this portion of the scene anyway. So that one thing we started to build, probably we're not even going to use it. So, but Brett and I are like rock, paper, scissors, I think, to like deliver the news to Erik. Like, we're not going to use these sort of like gore bunnies.
So we used a real bunny.
Yeah.
that we held up under its armpits, and it would just dangle. And as much as we tried to get it to look like it was squirming, we tickled the bunny. Blew on the bunny. We were trying to do anything to get this rabbit to move its legs. It was so chill. It just sat there with its legs just kind of doing this. And so we kind of shake it a little bit, and nothing to get the rabbit to look like it was actually being killed. So
it's because everybody loved those bunnies. They were like in this side room in one of the houses we were shooting at. So everybody would go visit the bunnies.
It's cool, right?
I'd be like, oh, the bunnies. They were kind of like the set pets that are like barely in the movie, but were around all the time.
We would all just sit around with the bunny in our lap.
Yeah. You know what's funny about those bunnies, though? The people that that provided all the food for crew, they adopted them and named them after our parents. So they're Carol and Dave are the two bunnies.
Oh, no way.
They took them home. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's so weird.
I was a little freaked out when the caterers adopted the bunnies to begin with.
But. I know.
Yeah. What are they going to do with them? I guess,
Weren't they like made for eating?
They were raised.
That's why they were so chunky.
Yeah, that's why they're so chunky. They were raised for food, but
I
now they're
was
pets.
scandalized the first time I heard that.
Yeah.
We rescued 4 meat rabbits as well.
Yeah, we rescued 4 meat rabbits.
I was going to say, you actually ended up saving rabbits on this film.
For some reason, Brett and I were put in charge of like taking care of them through part of the shoot, which we were so like sleep deprived. But every morning I was terrified because they lived outside in these cages, and everybody warned us and they were fine, thank God. But every morning I was so terrified to walk down and like pull up the thing, because I guess there's so many predators that will like just rip them through the cage and just shred them. Like people will wake up with just these mutilated bunnies in the morning. So I was like nervous every morning. I had to like pull back the thing, like, oh, they're still alive. Feed them.
So Drew and Brett, something that's always interested me when there's two directors, how often do you guys butt heads, and how do you resolve it? Is it all that rock, paper, scissors, like you said?
rock paper scissors,
I
and
think
thumb fights. No, it's
yeah. I mean, every once in a while we have these little pissy blow-ups, which is pretty funny. It's like real petty, like brotherly kind of things, like everybody has, I think, with their siblings. But for the most part, I think we've done all of our sort of like bickering and little things about the story and the script before we're on set, because we've spent at that point like a year and a half, 2 years, like figuring out every little beat that like there's nothing really to like fight over anymore. We're just like so excited to make the thing. So yeah, when we're initially coming up with story ideas, like we'll get petty every once in a while, like that idea is stupid and you're stupid.
Go home.
But then the next day, the thing that's great about working, and I think the reason why there's so many like brother and sister teams is, or just best friend teams, there's no ego. Like at the end of the day, we just want the best idea. So even though we'll get petty the next day, we're not worried about like being like, oh, this was my vision and I want to have my ideas there. It's literally like, oh, that's a better idea. We should go with that. It's sort of great that way.
Yeah.
Chang is in. He's watching right now. Chang Sin is your.
He's always
producer.
watching. No, I'm
He's
kidding.
always watching. How's Chang to work for? Tell us about Chang. I've known Chang for quite a few years now.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Chang's awesome. I actually got really
saved
lucky.
Brett's life.
Yeah, he saved my life. That's why he ended up on this movie. Because
That's the bar.
I worked for Chang as like a production coordinator manager on a Chinese TV show that shot in San Francisco for like a month or two one time.
Uh-huh.
And mid-shoot, I just wasn't feeling good for like a couple of days, but I thought I had the flu. And one day I was like in the office where we were working, my nose just started bleeding all over the keyboard. And I went to go lay down. I'm like, hey, buddy, I feel sick. I got to go lay down. 10 minutes later, Chang like kicked the door in and sent me to the hospital. And it turned out I was about 3 hours from dying. My appendix had ruptured and I didn't know it. And I spent 10 days in the hospital, but I wouldn't have gone to that hospital if Chang hadn't been like, you have to go to the hospital right now. It's like, you just look like death. So he saved my life. So I was like, hey, man, we're going to make a movie. Can you come save my life again? On this movie? So, yeah.
Now you're forever indebted to Chang Sin. He owns your soul.
Yeah, he
owns your soul forever.
Yeah, he does. But yeah, he's great. He just works around the clock. He's like that. He's a producer that, I mean, he's my
literally
friend.
around the clock.
Yeah. Piper knows it. I mean, she would see
This
him
man does not
sleep.
sleep. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
And he thrives off of it. He's not like, oh, I'm not sleeping. He's like, I didn't sleep last night. It was great.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay.
Occasionally I'll see him like fall asleep in his chair, like somewhere. He'll be like this. And then I'll just be like, hey, Chang, goes, yeah, what? What's going on? What are we doing?
But that's kind of really what you want a producer to be. I mean, you must feel grateful that you have a producer that's so keyed in and tuned in. And
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, independent production, it's so tough that like we always say like you got to surround yourself with as many people that love you as you possibly can. Like obviously we brought in Chang. We tried to. Brett and I have this rule like no assholes basically on set, which of course you don't want assholes, but it's just it's more like surround yourself with the best people you possibly can, because it's you're kind of bearing everything when you're making a movie. Like you're going to make a lot of mistakes and it's really stressful. And the more people you have there that are sort of either negative energy or what, it sort of makes it impossible. So we stacked the deck. We brought our mom was our craft service. Our dad was like our super PA. My in-laws, were everything. They did production design. They fed the crew. We just kind of surround ourselves with as many people that we really, know have our backs.
Yeah.
And
plus, like if somebody tries to talk shit about you at the craft service table, your mom's gonna tell you.
What'd you say about my boys?
Yeah.
They're perfect boys. They're very perfect.
Yeah.
I talked to your dad mostly around the craft service table.
Yeah, well, Dad was always by the craft service table. He was trying to eat everything on it.
So did their dad give any insight into the special effects, or did he just watch you?
He did. He helped with the time lapse stuff. We did the flower dyeing time lapse because he was a photographic effects artist on Evil Dead. That was his specialty. But he does love to share his opinion, and he's like one of those guys. He's like old school film because he always prefaces it like, when you're making a motion picture, and then he explains it. We're like, oh my god, I get it, Dad. I get it.
He's always trying to push blue screen on us for every shot.
Or green screen, yeah.
Green screen.
Yeah.
Oh, blue screen from his day, and
green screen from now. Yeah, but he's great. He helps out in every way. I mean, he does. I mean, I hate to say it, we always joke he does all the worst jobs sometimes. Like, hey, Dad, this actor's flying in at the airport. Can you go pick him up? Hey, Dad, can you feed the reps? Dad, can you get me a coffee? And he's the sweetest guy in the world. He does it because he loves us. So.
That's cool though. He's proud.
Yeah, he's proud Papa. So
he must be proud to see you guys kind of following in his footsteps.
Yeah. It's he vicariously lives through us as much as possible now. It's really funny. He's like, go ahead, Drew.
It's cool because Evil Dead, they had to, because they weren't rated when they released. I think they had to release mostly in drive-ins, right? Isn't that how it worked? So we're sort of in that sense, we're following in their shoes that way too.
Yeah, we talked about Evil Dead in our episode this past Wednesday, and we were talking about kind of the struggle that they had with it going unrated.
Yeah, the X rating. It was basically like a porn. No pun to Erik there, but it was.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any trouble with your rating of the film, or
we're not rated?
So you're not rated, okay?
And it's not so important anymore, especially for indie films.
It actually costs money to get your movie rated as an independent movie. And here's the thing is usually when you make an indie movie, that's something that happens at the very end. They want to rate your movie. That's probably the time you have the least amount of money you've ever had. So you're kind of like, well, we could pay this money just so we can get an R rating like we know we would, or it doesn't really matter. I mean, it used to matter, but it doesn't really matter anymore. I mean, maybe it matters to some people, but I don't even look at ratings anymore. It's funny. So
yeah, which is crazy because we still have a few drive-ins down here in the South, and it's totally changed from when I was a kid going to drive-ins. Nowadays nobody cares about the rating. Back then, they cared about the rating.
Oh yeah. I remember going in high school, like trying to go see Starship Troopers, and they were carding us. They're like, "It's R-rated. You got to be. You can't see this movie. It's so terrible." And I got in. So
I worked at a theater, and even the R ratings, if I saw somebody who really wanted to see it, I'd be like, don't tell anybody, but I'm gonna let you in and watch this movie. Go.
Well, it's funny. It's like Evil Dead's unrated, but now it'll be on like the Sci-Fi Channel at 2 p.m. on a Sunday. I feel like it's like
Yep. Piper, tell us, what did you bring to the film for the character? Was there any kind of inspiration that you brought?
Gosh, I don't know. I think the character Mallory really just highlighted a lot of things that I already had in me, if that makes sense, and that I wish I had more of. Maybe like she's very sarcastic and sassy, which I have the tendency to be, but she's way more cavalier with it and just super doesn't care who or what she's saying it to or about or whatever. And I have way more of a conscience in that sense. So I really just got to be quite a bit myself, just with more freedom than I typically give myself to be. So yeah, I don't know. I thought it was really fun. And Drew and Brett were really cool with just letting me take the reins on a lot of things. Like they were like, yeah, these are the lines, but if you want to say something else, you can. And I was like, okay. So
it was usually like, it's okay, Drew wrote that line, you can change it.
But yeah, no, they really just gave me a lot of freedom in making it my own and doing whatever I felt necessary to do with it. And yeah, it just made her very natural to me, and I had a lot of fun with it. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of gore and violence in the movie, but I got to tell you, the scene that made me scream at the screen was, and I'm not giving anything away, was when you put the note under the door. I was going, oh my God, what is wrong with you? Stop, go away! Don't do that. You're going to start a bunch of shit here.
Uh-huh.
And now I thought that was great. It really made me tense, and
yeah,
I was yelling at the screen, "Stop it, girl! You're screwing up."
I got to be this stupid girl in a horror movie. It was very fun.
Yeah, I think that's a testament to how much people love her character, because that's the scene that a lot of people call out. Is it's like, oh no, I like this girl.
Yeah.
I said the same thing, and I thought I was like same thing as Lloyd. Like she said, she really held the movie together. But the same scene, like Lloyd saying, I said the same thing at my screen. I'm like, what is she doing? Stop it, Mallory! Stop it!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably the most challenging thing was just riding that bike all the time. They had so many scenes where I'm just riding away on a bike, but like I have to get on it and start riding. And I know how to ride a bike, but like there's something very ungraceful about mounting a bike and then like riding away. And they had me do it so many times, and I'm pretty sure I didn't do it well a single time.
Do we have any scenes of Piper falling off the bike or anything?
Yeah, can we see bloopers?
I think there's a couple times where she just like got on it and there was like a wobble.
And just like wobbling.
Yeah. Maybe we won't use that take. No.
Yeah, not great. But
let's put that on YouTube. Maybe it'll go viral.
YouTube. Yeah. Eventually, Piper was like, "I'm not getting on the bike anymore. We're done. You guys have it. You have all the scenes."
Honestly.
So I guess going back to like the location, how difficult was it to find where you guys shot? You know, find those houses sort of next to each other. How difficult was that? How long did it take?
Oh, that was Drew and I actually, which is weird. We knew we wanted to shoot at that marina location because Drew's in-laws live up there and they teach sailing school, so we knew we could use it. So Drew and I were like, let's just go up to northern Michigan and we'll drive down every back road till we find two houses that are next to each other that look cool and make sense for the movie. So we were driving up and down roads for like 2 weeks just trying to find them. And the funny thing is, like, you don't think of these things because maybe we're just not smart enough. Is we're like, oh yeah, we want two houses that are right next to each other out in the middle of nowhere. And we're like, but wait a minute, why would anyone live next to each other out in the middle of nowhere? Because you have so much property. Like, you want to live away from people. So there were like no houses next to each other. It was really slim pickings. But then we were driving down this one street and I just saw like over the crest of this hill, like the peak of two houses next to each other and they look cool. And we just pulled up to the driveway and like knocked on the door and we're like, hey, can we see your place? And can we shoot a horror movie in your two houses? And magically they had a barn in the backyard. That wasn't part of the story. We just wrote it in because it looked so cool. And it was, it was literally just
perfect.
Two people knocking on doors, finding places to shoot the movie.
It could have turned into a horror movie with Brett and I, though, because we're in a rural location, no houses around, and sometimes we'd walk up like somebody's driveway and just start scoping out their yard in the middle of nowhere. And these are, this is the kind of area, there's lots of people with shotguns. So we'd walk up to the door and be like, hey, we're an indie film. Would you like to let us bring 40, 50 crew members here and occupy your life?
Yeah. There was a lot of rock, paper, scissors about who was going to go up to certain doors.
It could have been a deliverance situation. They could have been like, we're going to make an indie film with you too. Be like,
yeah. Well, we got really lucky because those two houses were actually a bed and breakfast, like a historical bed and breakfast. Yeah, and they were owned by the same people. And there's actually two other houses on the property that we could use as the makeup area and the wardrobe area. And Drew and I crashed in those houses. But they let us take over their world for like a couple of weeks and just shoot everything there. So
that's great.
Yeah.
And that's northern Michigan, right?
Yeah, it's right at the tip of the lower peninsula, like near Traverse City. Like, this is Michigan.
Yeah.
Okay, we're like up here.
It was up by Northport, wasn't it?
Yeah. What?
It was Northport, wasn't it?
Northport and Omena, Michigan was where the houses were, and Northport is where the marina was, but also the city was really nice enough to let us use an old auto car garage they had bought, and it was super dirty and gross, but they were like, if you clean it, you can build your big creepy cave here and use it as like your back lot. So it was cool. Yeah.
So being a bed and breakfast, so we could go stay there if we wanted to. So
you could. Yeah. I always wonder if the people that like rent out as a bed and breakfast like realize like, this might, I don't know if people will want to come here more now or less. I'm not sure.
I'll be happy if they get one customer that's like, oh, is this where the Wretched was filmed?
Yeah.
Can I stay in the room where
that area gets bought up every summer? So it's a big summer town.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So,
that'd be cool.
I don't know.
I like one person up there. I'll be the one person like, this is where they filmed the Wretched. Everybody, come on.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, when we went back, we felt bad because like there's a part where JP pours salt all over the grass, like around his house. Yeah. And like when we were doing it, we were talking to the prop people like, oh, okay, you guys are going to pick all that up, right? And we Drew and I went back like 6 months later, and there's just a big dead circle around the house.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Brett and I kind of in the busy season, we went back and all of the rooms were rented, and we just needed to get a couple like pickup shots and POV shots, like looking for the creature and different things. But there was like a whole wedding party there. They were into it though. So we're like wandering around at like 1 a.m. trying to grab these like little insert shots.
Yeah, like whispering to each other so we don't wake up the wedding party because they're getting married the next morning. So
pretty funny.
Some guys wandering around with a camera. They're like, we don't know what was happening, but we like it.
it was
And just like that, there was a wedding in the movie.
Yeah.
Had to write in the wedding.
Were the scenes that were of the next door neighbor kind of wondering what's going on at the house next door? Were those inspired at all by Fright Night? I had a real flashback of Fright Night with those scenes.
That's one of my. I think that's one of those movies that like I haven't seen it in a minute, but I mean I watched our dad. He used to transfer VHS cassettes when we were kids, and we watched that thing till like our cassette tape till it broke. Like that's just a movie that's just like in the sort of it's just like the backdrop of like what we love about movies. So yeah, a lot of the structure and a lot of the ideas, was initially.
That and Rear Window. We love Rear Window too. That's why we gave Ben a cast on his arm. It's kind of an homage to the cast on the leg.
I just watched that last night.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Nice. Piper, what about you? What's your favorite horror movie, Piper? Or do you not watch them? Is this your first time?
The Wretched. Yeah, it's definitely Wretched because I don't watch them. It's kind of tragic. I feel like I get asked this at like all the screenings and stuff, but yeah, I'm so easily scared. Like when I was 12, watched like 20 minutes of The Orphan and had nightmares for like months. And so I don't watch them. They're just super not my thing. But like I love this movie, but I wouldn't watch it if I wasn't in it. Like I would have no desire to be like I'm like, oh, scary movie, cool. I'm not gonna see it. Like that's not happening.
There was a point when we were shooting with Piper, like we were halfway. We had probably shot like every sort of scene between her, like dramatic scene between her and John, and beachy scenes, and like we hadn't got a single scene that was like horror related. And we're like basically in the woods with like a creature like a couple feet away from her, and she was just horrified. Brett and I was like, Brett, I think Piper just realized what kind of movie she's in.
She's like, what is this?
I did have so many of like the fun scenes of like, JP and I, flirting or doing something at the marina or whatever. And then it's 3 a.m. in the middle of nowhere in the woods in Michigan, and there's a monster coming out of a tree, and I'm like, this is cool. I hate it. But it's definitely fun. I mean, like I had never done a horror movie before, and so this was just a really fun experience for me, even though I'd not like. And it's been interesting too to be kind of thrust into the world of horror movie people, if that makes sense. All the reviews of the movie and stuff like that are on these sites with people who just like know horror and like are really big fans of it, and like I didn't know that this movie had so many like homages to other horror movies until I started like reading all this stuff. They're like, yeah, it reminds me of this and this and this, and I'm like, I had no clue. I just thought this was a movie. So it has been interesting to kind of learn about that stuff. But this is my favorite horror movie, to answer that question.
You want to see some cool? Check this out.
Oh, there it is. Oh,
there it is.
Yeah.
I was telling Lloyd I need one to wear while we're doing our show. I need one to put on.
I was trying to convince Chang to wear that for the whole show and just kind of sit in the background with that on.
Oh, I wish. It's actually kind of like not the most comfortable thing to wear. Like Erik did the best he could, but it's like a flat thing that just sits on your nose, so you just feel kind of like it's funny. So yeah.
So what's next, guys? Is there anything on the horizon?
Drew and I really want to make a werewolf movie. We have a story that we've kind of been percolating for a long time. It's actually something we wanted to do before The Wretched, but we were like, we probably need a little bit more of a budget to pull off a werewolf because they're really tricky. But it's just a new take on the werewolf that we're super excited about. We if we have our druthers, that's what we're gonna make next. If it's completely up to us, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since we've had a good werewolf movie. A long time.
Yeah, they're really tough. It's like the impossible sort of horror creature to pull off, but we're excited about the challenge.
That's why we should do it.
And I think we have I think we have a really unique way in that, kind of in the same way that we felt like we had with the Wretched, like it's just a new sort of approach to it. So yeah.
And we'd be excited about like doing effects work with that, like practical and the different elements that you can work with that, because it's just I don't know, we've always been into practical effects, and working with Erik was so awesome, and it kind of really like working with him was like this weird kind of like seamless. Wow, it's a guy who just wants it to be really cool like we do, and he knows way more how to do this than we do, and like it was such a good experience that we're like, how can we make it harder on ourselves and try something else? It's like
you add hair. That's what's smart.
I know. That's the part where he goes, hair. Oh God, because you got to like sew it all in. So
it's a really tricky subgenre to crack, because I mean you have American Werewolf and you have The Howling, which I think most people would agree are two of the greatest.
Yes.
And you have like Silver Bullet, which didn't have a great creature, but the movie itself is highly enjoyable.
Yeah, it's a cool movie. Good movie. Yeah. Some of there's been some werewolf movies that maybe didn't have the best effects, but were still really good movies. But it's more like what I'm kind of sick of is like just the all the time full on CG werewolf.
Yeah. Oh,
it's so hard to do. It's so hard to do with the
we lost Brett.
He was so excited about werewolf movies, he just left. He was like, all right, guys, I'm gonna go make it right now. I'll be back.
He comes back, he's just a full werewolf.
He's like, wow,
no, we're in trouble.
Yeah. But that is the hardest thing. That is the hardest thing with there he is. We thought you left to go make the werewolf movie. We thought you were gone.
I was just too excited. I had to leave right now. I had to start sewing in all those 1 million hairs.
Yeah. I think that's the hardest thing, though. Like every werewolf movie, almost. I mean, it's the effects, and I think that's why so many of them have tried to go to CGI, and it still doesn't work. And it'd be really cool if you want to come back with some practical effects. So.
Yeah, well, I think you could marry it with a little bit of CG in the right way. It's just like it would be like Drew and I talked about it would be the Jurassic Park approach, where you have a lot of practical, actual things that you make mixed in with the moments that are just utterly impossible for a practical effects thing. And so I think the mix of those things can work really well. I think the problem is when it's just like CG werewolf, CG werewolf, CG werewolf running around full on all the time. And also with creatures, you don't want to, like, the truth is you don't really, as much as you may think in your head, you want to see them full on all the time. You actually don't. They're way creepier when you hint at things. Like I'm more creeped out by the witch in our movie when I just see her hands coming down in a frame instead of just seeing the whole thing just like stand there and be like, it's like, it's about the pieces. And Erik's really great about like knowing how to tell that story with the effects, and working with him has been great because it's all from a perspective of almost making you feel like it's there more than it actually is. Dog Soldiers is an awesome.
Yeah, Dog Soldiers.
Yeah.
Also, I like Ginger Snaps too.
Ginger Snaps is very cool too. Yeah.
And Company of Wolves is a good one too.
I'm like, for sure.
Yeah. You got to watch all these.
These are names of
favorite movie.
Yeah.
Piper, are you going to do more horror, Piper? Is this it? Are you done? Piper's like, no more horror.
No, I would love to. It was a really fun experience. Yeah, I mean, people will ask me like, what do you want to do next? And my answer is generally just anything that I haven't done. But that doesn't mean I'm not down to do something I already have done. So this was exciting for me because I hadn't done horror before, but it also kind of made me want to do some more, because I don't know if that would be anything in my head that was like, oh, I really want to do a horror movie. But I also don't know if the experience was so good just because it was like Brett and Drew and our cast and crew, because I think that really like makes or breaks an experience for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't mind it. It's fun.
I think you've got an American Pie movie coming up.
I do. Yeah.
You
so
do?
that's different than this.
Know.
Kind of. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's been weird, and we've been talking to the cast about it because it hasn't like been officially announced, but like it's up on IMDb and all this stuff. And so it's a weird little thing, but it's an American Pie Presents. So it's one of those offshoots of American Pie. But it's a different take on the first original American Pie, just with women instead of men.
Cool.
So it's like 4 girls instead of 4 guys. And yeah, I'm one of the girls,
cool.
and yeah, it's super fun. Definitely change of pace because it's big comedy. But was really fun. So yeah, that's exciting. I think
awesome.
that's supposed to come out later this year, but also that is not for sure. So who knows? But yeah, that was fun. So I think that'll definitely be, I don't know if anybody watching The Wretched would be like, yeah, let me go watch the next thing she did and then be like super disappointed because it's not the same at all. But yeah, it was fun. And another, I guess, little bit of nostalgia for anyone who, I guess, watched those growing up or something like that. So yeah.
Is Eugene Levy in this one?
No, oh my gosh.
Oh, that's a bummer.
I think they tried to get him, but it was a weirdly small budget, and he, because of like Schitt's Creek and everything, I think has just sort of like skyrocketed up a little bit. But I wanted him to be in it so badly because I'm a huge fan of Schitt's Creek, so I was like, please let him be in it. But
Cool.
I think Barry Bostwick's in it, isn't he? Isn't Barry Bostwick in it with you?
I don't know.
Maybe some of the shot when you weren't there or something. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I know. I don't think this is a surprise. Yeah, like Danny Trejo's in it for like a hot second because he's friends with the director and like just like plays some random character like a janitor in the background and like passes by a door. So that was cool to have him like around and on set. But
I see Clint Howard's in it too. We love Clint Howard here. So
we love Clint.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I just showed up to work and met the people.
Hey, you guys make a werewolf movie? I think Piper would make an excellent female werewolf.
Yeah.
Don't you agree, Lord?
I agree, Charles.
She may hate latex, but make it work.
One more that I've got a question about is School Spirits. It says it was shot in 2017, but it comes out June of this year.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm confused about that as well. Because it came out in 2017, like officially on VOD. So like it was released a while ago. And I think I got like a tweet at some point that was like, this thing picked it up for distribution. And I was like, I thought that happened already. So because we shot it in 2016, it came out in 2017. And I haven't thought about it since. So I don't know what the whole deal with the new distribution is. I don't know if it's just like a re-release thing or what it is, but yeah. It's not a horror movie. It's a spooky movie, but it's like fun for the whole family type deal. So
like
definitely
Scooby-Doo?
not him as directed.
It's like a Scooby-Doo mystery.
Put that
Yeah.
kinda, wouldn't put those in the same category for sure. But
We're a little Scooby-Doo. We're like R-rated Scooby-Doo. I like it.
R-rated
I'm okay
Scooby-Doo.
with that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Would have gotten away with it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll say it would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for these pesky kids. Could be like the tagline for a movie. You know?
There you go. You should have worked that in. The witch should have said that at some point. That would have been hilarious.
That'll be a werewolf movie for sure.
It's not really a witch.
Yeah.
Old man Gentry that runs the amusement park.
Yeah.
It was a good part. They took the mask off
It's Danny Trejo. It was the janitor.
Yeah.
the whole time.
What about you, Eric? Is there anything you're working on, or is it a werewolf movie for the Pierce brothers?
I hope I get a call for that one. I don't know. They haven't talked to me too much about that one yet, so I've heard. But there's a couple things in the pipeline for our company, Frightmares, that I run with Chris Gallagher, and hopefully, I mean, none that I can really talk about yet. None of them are set in stone, so hopefully those all go through. With the quarantine happening the way it is, everybody's kind of putting projects together, but nobody's really greenlit anything. So we had 2 films we were working on before the quarantine happened, and from what I gather, I don't know if either of them are coming back after. And they were even union films. So it's just one of them, the star, happened to be overseas, and now he's sequestered overseas, and they can't get him back.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, so I don't know right now. Hopefully, I mean, everybody's developing. This is the time to write scripts and develop and do things. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. It's all wait and see. We all don't know yet how it's going to work out. Yeah.
Well, you know, we're the same way. We have the convention Texas Frightmare Weekend, and it's just one of those things. Everybody asks us, "How's it going to work?" And it's like, I don't know yet. It depends on how things are in September. I mean,
yeah, and I think that's a good way to look at it. Just like we just got to take it day at a time and see how best we can do things. You know, so
yeah. I think a lot of people are all waiting on somebody else to jump out there and be the first one to do it and kind of an example.
Well, here in LA, a lot of the companies, like the studios and production companies, they're all looking to places like Iceland and New Zealand and other places to shoot stuff, just because they have very low COVID cases and stuff like that too. So who knows? Maybe some things will start happening there first, and then over time, hopefully things get better and it starts going everywhere. But we'll see. Yeah.
So anything else? Anybody want to plug anything? You want to give us a website or a Facebook or?
What's the Wretched website, Brett? Is it?
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Drew's like, what's the website again? Yeah,
I'm bad at the social media.
Okay. It's www.wretchedmovie.com, which you can go there. The trailer's on there, but it also shows you where you can rent the movie, and also has all the drive-ins that it's playing at, so you can figure out if it's nearby you. And then we have an Instagram at the Wretched Movie, which feel free to hit us up on there. We're always responding to everybody. But yeah, that's pretty much it for us. How about you guys? Piper? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have really. Do I have? I don't think I do.
I hope you know that you have an Instagram.
Oh, I do have an Instagram.
You've got a few followers, so
just a couple. Yeah, Instagram's a weird thing, but yes, it's Pip Hooray 1, because Pip Hooray was like
Hooray.
Yeah. So I made it
cool.
when I was 14 and wanted a fun username, and then later down the line I got verified and was doing more things, and they were like, why don't you change your name to your name, and number one, it was already taken at that point. Someone had swooped it up, and then number two, I kind of like to remember where I came from, remember your roots type deal.
That is cool. That's why I'm Porn Makeup.
Exactly.
At Porn Makeup.
Yeah, it's great. No, that's not Instagram. My Instagram name is an obscure comic book character named. The name's Jack Star Grundy, so nobody ever finds me. Yeah, no one ever finds me, and everyone's like, "Oh, your name's Jack." I'm like, "No, why did I name it after this obscure comic book character 8 years ago or whatever?" So.
Oh man.
I was boring and just used my name, at Erik Porn, but the problem is, you look that up and people are expecting other things when they look me up. So,
oh man, they're like,
these are not the videos I signed up for.
Yeah, what's this makeup shit? What's going on?
They're like, this is going to lead to something good. Hold on.
And then they're sorely disappointed.
Yeah.
I sympathize with you, Eric. My last name is Cryer, so I grew up with are you a crybaby? Oh,
hey, everybody calls me Does. Everybody calls me Charles Does. Does Charles do it? I'm like, yeah, he does. All right, he does.
Hey, Brett, Drew, what do you guys pierce?
Oh God! Oh man, I don't even want to tell you. That's like a bad joke that we got in high school from all of our buddies. So, yeah. Well, actually, our nickname in high school, because our mom wouldn't cut our hair, and it was super froey and curly, that everybody just called us the Fro Bros. So it was like,
if you can imagine.
Yeah, we're going to a party at the Fro Bros house. Yeah. It stuck. I shouldn't have done that. So.
That's what you guys should direct under. You should direct under the Fro Bros. That should be your new director.
Yeah. Maybe someday. I don't know. Well, that'll be like our Alan Smithy name for a movie we don't want people to know we worked on or something.
Ooh,
yeah. There we go. Yeah.
If you guys see that pop up in the future, we know who's behind.
I know it's you.
Who it is.
Yeah.
We know who it is. Thank you guys all for joining us today. This was great. We really had a great time talking to you.
Oh, thanks for having us, guys.
Thanks for having
us.
us.
Yeah.
We absolutely love the movie, and I want to encourage everybody out there, go see this right away. It's really one of the most original films that I've seen in a while. It's great. We've already talked about the practical effects. It's incredible. So if you want something good, and there's some truly scary moments in the movie, creepy, that'll creep you out. So get on it. Go. It's VOD everywhere, right? Amazon.
Yeah, should be super easy to find. We're pretty much on everything, so it's cool.
But if you can't get to a drive-in, get to a drive-in, guys. Even if you have to drive a little bit, get out to the drive-in.
Yeah.
And they're around. They're out there. So go check them out. All right, guys. Thank y'all so much for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank y'all.
Be safe out there.
Take care.
Be safe.
Have a good one.
All right.
Bye.
Y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow.
That was great. Good talking to them. Great stories.
And super cool people. Look like they truly had a good time making that film, which is, I think that's the most important part. I think whenever you can have a great set with, good relationships and good people like these on set, and they it seems like they take care of each other, the better the movie is going to be. So.
And you can tell they're fans too. You can definitely tell they're fans of the genre. And I think when you get people who are fans like that and, are super cool, it's like, the movie's going to turn out fun.
Except for Piper. She's not a fan, which is
Piper's
cool.
I hate these movies. I think Piper thought she was making like a fun summer comedy until that one night at 3 a.m. She was like, whoa.
What is going on?
What's going on here? This is not what I signed up for.
David Stack asked, I think they said it was, wretchedmovie.com. I'm going to look it up real quick and make sure.
Get it up and we'll throw it up there too so we can have it. We'll make sure to put it in our comments too.
Oh, it's a good website too. Wow, this is nice. Yeah, I'm going to put it up there. It is wretchedmovie.com. And let's see if I can put this up there.
Got it? Yeah, definitely a cool website. Lots of good info on it, and it gives you info on where it's playing at too. Also, where you guys can watch it at home. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, really,
it is. I was so thankful that we got to watch the film. So thanks to Chang for getting that set up and letting us check the movie out before. I'm watching it's kind of got the scenes from the movie playing on the website, and one thing that I didn't bring up was those under or subterranean scenes. Those kind of freak me out. I'm a little claustrophobic with stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's got everything this movie does. It has.
I mean, it does. It's a throwback, really. I mean, you feel like it's something, from the 80s. You've got this, little next door scary storyline with practical effects and, kids thwarting everything that's going on. It makes you feel nostalgic, I guess is a good word for it. And it's a nice little beacon of light in a lot of the same old CGI heavy ghost stories, like they were saying, that we've been seeing for the last 7, 8, 9 years. So,
and you can tell the movie had heart when you're watching it. It has a serious tone. It's not super jokey, so it's kind of a serious tone of a film. And I really like that too, because it seems like nowadays you don't get that serious tone in movies. A lot of people want to throw in, which I don't have a problem with a horror comedy, but this worked perfectly the way they took it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I feel like today almost every horror feels like it needs to have the comedic element in it. Almost all of them do in some way, shape, or form. So when they step away from that, it's nice to see kind of just that nice underlying tone the whole time.
It's almost like people look at their material and they second guess it and they think, well, I think we need to throw some jokes in here, otherwise this is going to look goofy. But they didn't do that. I think they were brave for not doing that and keeping it serious. So kudos to them. Can't
much kudos.
Yeah, can't praise this movie highly enough.
And I would love to see them make a werewolf movie, as they're saying, because I can't remember last time I had a good werewolf movie. I'm like, please make one with the same heart, with the practical effects as much as you can, and it'll turn out fantastic.
The way they pulled this one off, I have no doubt that a werewolf movie in their hands, they would be super competent making a werewolf movie.
Yeah, and like you said, a lot of the werewolf movies came from the 80s. There was a few here and there, but one of my favorites is, I guess, kind of a werewolf movie is Company of Wolves, which had a great great story in it as well. And I'd love to see something like that, Oh yeah, and it's one of those a lot of people don't talk about. Some people know about it, but a lot of people don't really know about it. It's such a fantastic film. It should be more of a cult classic.
I love the way that movie feels like a fairy tale.
Company of Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole thing. It's a beautiful film. Everything in that movie. So if you guys haven't seen Company of Wolves, we can talk about that another time. But it's a great movie.
It is a good one. So, you want to give some stuff away, Charles?
I mean, as long as I don't have to dance for somebody, you can't give that away anymore.
I'm giving away a table dance with Charles.
It's not very fun. It looks like a drunk walrus, but I try.
A drunk walrus. Oh my god!
That used to be my stripper name, Drunk Walrus. So,
okay, so we're gonna go ahead and give away. This was from last Saturday's show.
Yep. What do we got?
All right, I'm gonna pull this up so I get it correct. But what we've got is this is what we're giving away. We're giving away the Piranha
Roger Corman
8x10 signed by Roger Corman. Yes, sir.
This is another image that you and me need to recreate like this. I keep telling you, we need to recreate these images. We need to recreate this piranha image.
Which one are you?
I'm the piranha coming to get your booty. Ah, Lord.
My Lord. All right, so let's move on. I'm giving
Let's
this one.
move on.
I have already chosen the winner by random, and we choose the winners from everyone that shares our videos. We go in and we choose these by random. And this week's winner is, you got my drum roll ready, Charles? Jose Gonzalez.
Jose Gonzalez.
Jose, you have won the super awesome Roger Corman autographed photo Piranha. It's really cool. I love this thing. I love Piranha so much. Filmed down in Texas at that little aqua marina that used to be down there. I think some of it's still is still down there, but I think most of it they've removed and closed down.
Yeah, most of it's been closed down. There's a couple of things you can find, but most of it's been shut down. But it's a great movie, directed by Joe Dante, of course, who went on to do a lot of stuff, as we know. And I think a lot of people have seen Piranha, but if you haven't, check it out. But props to Jose for winning. Very cool thing to add to your collection.
And thank you guys so much for continuing to share. We're going to keep giving away stuff every Saturday, just because we appreciate you guys so much and helping us. So this is the next item that we're giving away. You know what this is?
Can't see it.
This is a Dick Miller signed 8x10 of Bucket of Blood.
Oh, what a great film.
Yep. And all you have to do to win this is share the video. Just share the video. We'll go through and choose someone randomly, and we'll make sure it's a new winner every week. Mm-hmm. So thank you guys for sharing that. Todd Lewis says Aquarina Springs. Yes, that's it. I went there when I was with my grandpa. I went there with my grandpa, my grandma, I think my sister, my mom. And I remember just thinking it was the coolest place in the world. That was back in the 70s.
But around the time they filmed it, because Piranha was 78, right? Something like that?
It probably was around the time they filmed it. I don't know. I mean, it was just a cool place, and it's really cool going and watching that movie and seeing the scenes from it again.
So really cool giving away Dick Miller, who, of course, he passed away January of last year. So we had him at Frightmare, I think, just the one time, right? One time he joined us.
Yeah, I want to say it was like 2009, maybe.
Bucket of Blood's a great movie, too. And, he plays Walter Paisley in that. And if he also played that scene by the same character in Chopping Mall, right? So it's interesting to see it.
Was he in Piranha? I can't remember because that's a
no. He wasn't in Piranha. I don't think.
Yeah, he's usually in every.
Wait, no, he was. He was in Piranha. He was Mr. Buck something. Buck Gardner. His name was in that. He was in Piranha though.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't know many movies of Joe Dante's that he wasn't in, so I would be surprised to find out that he wasn't. Yeah, here it is. Buck Gardner.
Yeah, Buck Gardner. He was in everything that Joe Dante did. He did the Twilight Zone, the movie segment with him. He did a movie called Explorers that was Joe Dante's as well. Inner Space, which is a Joe Dante movie. Of course, The Burbs. I mean, he was in like everything. Matinee.
I love Dick Miller.
I like him in Demon Knight. Uncle Willie. Poor old Uncle Willie.
Yeah, Richard just said the same thing. I still like him in Demon Knight.
Yeah, Uncle Willie. All right, guys. Well, we'll be back on tonight at 7 for our Twitch watch party, our weekly watch party.
Yep.
Where me and Lloyd slowly get drunk and yell things about the movie.
What are we showing tonight, Charles?
Oh, the group chose the movie, so it's Elvira, Mistress of the Dark tonight. So that was chosen by the Frightmare official group page. And we'll do it again next week, but I think, as we talked about on Wednesday, we really want to show Dark Knight of the Scarecrow. So if everybody would be cool watching that, we may do that one next Saturday.
Yeah. I hope everybody can join us tonight. This is a free deal. All you got to do is you got to be on a desktop. You have to have an Amazon Prime video account. And what else? What else is the? You have to have a Twitch account. So all of that's free if you already have it. I mean, might as well join us. It's a lot of fun. And it's Elvira tonight. This is a fun movie.
It is a fun movie.
Yeah.
I try to make them funner because that's why I drink beforehand. So we'll see what happens. But no, that's it. I mean, I had a great time talking to everybody from The Wretched. Guys, check that out. It's a great film. And, we'll be back on Wednesday as well with 1982, The Year in Horror, which we're making a lot shorter because 1981 was like 7.5 hours long. It was like the 10 Commandments of horror.
The 10 Commandments of horror. What?
It is.
The Old Testament of horror.
It was the Old Testament. It was, we have narrowed it down to 20 movies, 20 or 21 movies from 1982, which we won't say, but there was a lot of good ones. It was really hard. So,
yeah, it's definitely hard paring down the movies from 1982.
Yeah, like every year. No more 1981 instance, though. It took forever.
Richard says, hope Charles brings the paintings.
I got a pair of panties with Richard's name on it.
Travis says,
panties!
You're going to be doing your panty raids.
Panties!
Todd says he can't make it. He's in Oklahoma. We are smoking brisket. Got a lot of beer. Okay, forget it, guys. We're going to wherever Todd's going. We're getting some of that brisket and beer.
The address. Me and Lloyd will get on the road right now because I want some brisket. I am hungry and I need beer and brisket. I'm waiting, Todd.
Boogeyman says the Burning's not on Prime. That's a bummer.
Oh, I thought it was. Maybe they just turned it off. I could have sworn it was recently.
Did you look it up?
I thought it was. Because I could have sworn when we did our first watch party, I looked it up on Prime and it was on.
Yeah, I'm looking.
They throw that stuff on and off a lot, so
yeah, it just depends on what's going on that week, I guess.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us and talking to everybody from The Wretched. We're real appreciative for them joining us, and we're real appreciative for you guys continuing to join us. We're going to keep doing these as long as we can until it's just me and Lloyd talking to each other with nobody watching, because we'll still do this. But if you can, join the watch party tonight. We love watching movies with you guys, and it's interactive. It's just like this. But it's Twitch only, but we see your guys' comments. Yeah, that's what I got. I got to go find some brisket and beer now before 7 o'clock. And that's 7 o'clock Central Time tonight, guys, on Twitch. So
7 p.m. Central. Join us on our Twitch channel. It's twitch.com/TXFrightmare. So we would love to see you there. I think for now, I think we're about done. I hope you guys had a great time watching. We had a great time spending time with you. And that's it. We'll see you tonight. Y'all have a good night.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.